If you work for the government or are considering a federal job, big changes are coming your way. Today, we're talking about a proposed law that could reshape how and where federal employees work, and what it takes to keep or lose a federal job. Republican lawmakers are at it once again, taking aim at federal work policies, from telework to employee performance reviews. Senator Joni from the great state of Iowa, she's been a senator for about 10 years now. She doesn't like telework, doesn't like remote work, wants to bring everyone back into the cubicle farm where they belong. It's not a big surprise. She also wants to eliminate multiple federal agencies. Well, she helped bring in a couple of bills. Let's break them down. First up, the Returning SBA to Main Street Act. She wants to move 30% of the Small Business Administration, SBA, out of DC and over to district offices, wherever they may be. Maybe they're in Iowa. Who knows? I don't know where they're at. So that's not too big of a deal because the SBA is a relative small agency, right? Several thousand people over there. So we're looking at probably over 1,000 employees, moving them out of DC. And this goes to the idea of decentralizing the power. All the power shouldn't be in the DC region, so we should take the agencies and just spread them out all over the country. This would probably result in decreased office space in DC. That could save the government some money. You know who doesn't like that idea? The mayor of DC, Mayor Bowser. She wants more people to come to work in DC because it produces more revenue for her so that she can do her projects around the district. Another person who doesn't like it is probably the employee that's getting uprooted. A lot of people have kids in high school, they have ties to their community, and you're just going to pick them up and say, hey, you're moving to Iowa or Nebraska or wherever. A lot of people aren't going to want to do that, so they're just going to find another job. And when you're jumping like that, you're losing institutional knowledge within that organization. Next, let's talk about the Senator's Remote Act. This bill is all about using data to measure the effectiveness of telework. There's already data out there. This is using additional data. Now, has telework increased? Obviously, that's one of the main points here. In 2019, we had about 25% of people teleworking. Now, if you look today, right now, that number is probably hovering around 50% because half of federal employees are not even authorized to telework. So there has been a jump there. Her concern? Some employees might not be working as hard as they should, especially on the taxpayer's dime. There is no better way to say, I do not trust you, than to interview and hire somebody and turn around and say, you cannot work at home, even though the duties and scope of your job is entirely possible for you to do it at home. You could avoid the commute, have more time back, save money, but we don't trust you to do that. You need to go ahead and sit in a dimly lit government building. Otherwise, this agreement, it's not going to work out. Why would you hire them? Why would you hire somebody you do not trust? So the question is, do we need more monitoring? Switching gears, let's look at Representative Loudermilk's bill, the Merit Act, which has been introduced 4 separate times since 2017. He just can't get the bill through. He's trying, he's pushing, he's talking to people, just can't get any momentum going on with this thing. There's a clear reason. He wants to get rid of civil protections for employees. The main goal for this bill is to make it easier to fire federal employees. To fire federal employees that are underperforming, to recover bonuses, and to eliminate or dramatically reduce the appeal rights, the appeal process that many federal employees currently have. Why do they have these protections? The main reason is so that they don't have to be swayed by politics. So let's say you have a bunch of people with a Democratic ideology. A Republican administration comes in theory, they could fire a large subset of the workforce. So it's mainly for political protections. That is what the argument is when it comes to why give these people any protections, right? Why not just make them all at will? If you look at recent data, it does take about 170 days to remove a poor performing federal employee under certain conditions, because If they were on probation, it doesn't take that long. It can be done in under a month. You can get rid of somebody in a snap of a finger pretty much when it comes to at-will employment. Now, not everybody is on at-will employment. When you first come into the federal government, that's a 12, 24-month. In some cases in the Department of Defense, that could be 36 months. And then after that, you get all of the civil protections that all the other federal employees are receiving. And another thing, when it comes to political appointees, whether that is Schedule C or whether that is senior executives, if you serve at the pleasure of the president, you can be gone in a snap of a fingers as well. So this Merit Act, it's trying to cut down that 170 days significantly. What does this all mean for job seekers? So here are my main 3 takeaways. Number 1, telework flexibility. If you're hoping for more telework options, well, that's probably not going to happen, but you need to look at it from agency to agency. Just because the VA is doing one thing, it doesn't mean the IRS is doing the same thing. So every agency governs its own local telework procedure. Also keep informed because this could change in the upcoming year. You could, in 2025, 2026, you can easily see that there could be some dramatic changes to this. Now, even before the pandemic was here, agencies were taking a different approach to telework, where VA was kind of leading the way in a lot of aspects, and other agencies, it was seen more of a taboo thing, only use it if there's severe weather. So you always want to have an understanding before you accept that final job offer. This is something that you can ask your supervisor. You can ask the hiring manager right before you accept the final job offer, what is the local policy for telework? And then use that as one of your decision mechanisms, one of the components that you're assessing on which job offer you want to take. Next is performance monitoring. If the Remote Act does pass, you're going to see a push to use surveillance tools when it comes to using your work computer at home. And we have companies already doing this. We have Amazon, they're tracking time off task. So you're trying to use the bathroom and then you take, instead of 5 minutes, you're there 10 minutes, all of a sudden a red flag goes off and a supervisor is trying to adjudicate what's happening over there. We actually had another company called Teleperformance. This is a giant call center, so nobody really likes them. They've been using facial recognition software to make sure that their employees are at their desk. That's part of the agreement. They have this work at home agreement. And to sign up, you have to consent to AI technology and cameras scanning your face. Because they don't trust you to get up and get a snack from the kitchen or to answer your door, check your mail, or do anything for a prolonged period of time. That's going to sound the alarms. So this is some of the tools that could be expected if an act like this actually passes. The Merit Act could speed up the termination process. And if this does happen, as an employee, it's all about expectations, yours and your supervisors. I tell everybody when they first start their federal government job, when you're sitting down with your supervisor for the first time, you have to ask, what are the expectations? And I usually advise this because you want to make sure you get your promotion if you're in a promotion ladder position, or if not, you want to make sure you get your step, or if not, you want to make sure you get your bonus at the end of the fiscal year. So you have to communicate about expectations. What does it look like for me to be best qualified in this situation? What does it look like? How many calls do I have to answer? How many agreements do I have to complete? How many whatevers I have to review and assess and reports I have to generate? Get it somewhat quantified. Have a good idea going into it. Don't let it surprise you at the end. Here's another key number you want to remember. The federal government's annual attrition rate, it's around 6 to 7%. If you count people that are under 30 years old, that's 12%. So any given year, the federal government needs to hire 150,000 people, or it will shrink. It will slowly shrink if it doesn't hire that amount. So that means that these bills could create more pressure towards retention. There's already a lot of talk going on about people that are trying to retire early, about severance packages. So we could see, and for some people that would be the dream scenario, right? They would love to see the government shrink dramatically. So attrition is going to be a huge factor when we're seeing these bills passed and enforced. These bills are still in the early stage, but they can have a huge impact to federal hiring. Now, for you personally, right now, what are you doing? Are you improving your resume? Are you trying to take a shot? Are you taking a chance on some of these jobs? Are you applying? Many people are not, and it's because of fear. Fear has them paralyzed, and they want to see how everything shakes out. What that means for you, if you have the courage, that means less competition. You can come in there, you can apply, maybe get a highly sought after position because people are just too afraid to apply themselves. Now, If you're really concerned about what's happening with this new administration, how is it going to impact different areas of the federal hiring process, then I want you to check this video out next. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please click like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.